It's 9 o'clock, so welcome to Daybreak Plus on WGRZ Plus. And this Tuesday morning, you are heading out to some cloudy skies, some light flurries, and all in all, a wintry but not a bad morning, right, Patrick?
Not a bad morning. It's kind of cold and yeah, it's cold.
It's wintry.
It's
wintry.
Yes. It doesn't have the fury of yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday was pretty nasty, but you know, you and what's his name, Axel, behind you, stood out there strong, making sure that that everyone got the information they needed.
High five, Axel. We withstood the lake effect craziness of yesterday. Now it's just some flurries, Pete. Good morning. Here's the deal for today. We're gonna have a cloudy day, getting a little breezy later on, and then windy tonight. There may be a little partial clearing. It may be tough to scour out these clouds, but we're hopeful of just a little sun, maybe. One of the hardest things in the winter season to predict is any type of clearing in a weather pattern like this. All right, let's get to it, show you what's going on. This is the forecast for the next couple of days. Mid-40s by Thursday with some rain Thursday night and some lake effect snow showers on Friday. Today, though, rather cloudy, southwest breeze 10 to 20. But for tonight, that wind is going to ramp up with gusts to 40 to 45. Still getting a few flurries out there. By this afternoon, those will be gone. Temperatures right around 30 degrees with a breeze. Tomorrow morning, not as cold. Temperatures in many spots above freezing, and it'll be windy, but then the wind tapers down. Excuse me, a chance of a little rain shower tomorrow afternoon. Temperatures close to 40, actually. And then here we go again, mid-40s by Thursday. Lake effect snow showers Friday, and a little light rain and snow Saturday. Here is the 6 to 10 day outlook. And yes, much of the nation is going to be warmer than average, but in our little neck of the woods, the Northeast, not so much. We're still kind of close to or a little below average maybe, but in the 8 to 10 day range, I think it's a little warmer than average, just by a little. Anyway, Pete, I'll come downstairs and join you in just a sec.
All right, thank you very much, Patrick. All right, well, first this morning, the principal of Olean High School is facing criminal charges. Two on Your Side has confirmed that Jeffrey Andriano was arrested and charged with endangering the welfare of a child and second-degree harassment. We're still waiting to learn more details about the allegation waged against him, but we do know Andriano will face the judge on January 20th. Developing now, a Hamburg man is accused of killing his own mother in their home over the weekend. 33-year-old James Jenny is charged with second-degree murder this morning. Yesterday, we told you about this scene on McKinley Parkway on Sunday. Hamburg police were called to a home for a welfare check, and when they got there, officers found 71-year-old Loretta Jenny's body with stab wounds to the neck. Investigators tell us that James was the man who called 911. They described him as, quote, belligerent. They also say that James made comments that indicated he may have been connected to the death of his mother. James was arraigned in Hamburg Town Court yesterday afternoon. He was shackled at the waist and ankles and wearing no shoes. During the proceeding, he uttered several profanities and at one point appeared to lunge toward the prosecutor before being restrained. It's been confirmed to Two on Your Side that Jenny and his mother had a history of domestic issues.
We've had a previous history of domestic violence calls there dating back to 2016. He was arrested several times for domestic violence incidents that where she was a victim.
And a judge ordered a psychiatric evaluation and that Jenny remains held without bail. The New York Attorney General's office is deciding not to file charges in the deadly police shooting of a woman in Hamburg nearly 2 years ago. You're looking at video from the scene February 2nd, 2024. 36-year-old Lisa Haight allegedly stabbed a fellow passenger in a van on the thruway, then ran off and broke into a nearby house. She apparently tried to stab responding officers. That's when an officer opened fire, killing her. The Attorney General's investigation found the officer was justified in his use of deadly force. The office will not be pursuing criminal charges. Happening today with 2 weeks left in office, today Buffalo's acting mayor will be touting a successful cut down on crime across the city. Later this morning, Chris Scanlon will be joined by the current leadership of the Buffalo Police Department to discuss the crime rate for 2025. According to a spokesperson for the acting mayor, Scanlon will highlight significant reductions in crime and improvements to public safety. That is happening in just a couple hours at 11 o'clock this morning. And tonight, you're going to get another chance to weigh in on the future of the Kensington Expressway. The second Queen City Forward session with state officials is being held from 5 until 7 at the Edward Saunders Community Center on Bailey Avenue. The state DOT is holding these sessions to give neighbors a voice in shaping the project, which is currently on hold. Well, after first being announced more than a year ago, the town of Tonowanda's new ambulance service will be up and running in the coming weeks. On your sides, Chelsea Swift has that story.
Last October when I announced it, I was excited to make the announcement because we believed that this was going to be a win-win for the town residents and the town because we could provide the service that is needed, we believe, and it was going to be a revenue generator for the town.
Tonawanda Supervisor Joe Eminger says there are more than 5,000 ambulance transports in the town each year. He says the new ambulance corps would handle about 1,100 transports a year. Eminger says projections point to a net revenue of more than $253,000 for the town each year.
We do have one of the oldest population demographics in Erie County, and there's a need for it.
He says one obstacle the town faced was not being able to find enough applicants. Tonawanda has hired 6 EMTs, 4 who are full-time and 2 part-time employees. Eminger says the town worked out a deal where Twin City Ambulance will provide service to the town 16 hours a day.
When we talked to Twin City, when we were negotiating with them with our agreement, we were flexible on what hours we would take other than the overnight shift.
On your side, Chelsea Swift, Channel 2 News.
Thank you, Chelsea. And the town of Amherst has approved changes to zoning laws to create a new urban renewal overlay district on the site of the Boulevard Mall. The long-term plan is to tear down the old mall and redevelop it into a new mixed-use space with housing, shops, and restaurants. Now, this zoning amendment would update the town map and set framework for future mixed-use development in the area. Town officials say this will give developers more flexibility when it comes to things like parking spaces, street dimensions, and pedestrian walkways. Well, it is the last work week of the year for Congress, and millions of Americans are hoping lawmakers find a way to prevent Obamacare health care premiums from skyrocketing. This, as new polling shows, Americans are growing increasingly dissatisfied with the president. NBC's Melanie Zanona has details from Washington.
In Washington, lawmakers racing against the clock in their final week of work before the holidays, trying to come up with a solution to prevent health insurance costs from skyrocketing next month for millions of Americans insured through the Affordable Care Act. House Speaker Mike Johnson promising a health care vote this week. But his current plan does not extend cost-cutting subsidies for Obamacare recipients.
This is going to be a great piece of legislation that everybody will unite around.
But what is clear, time is running out. Where were these Republican ideas over the last several months?
It comes as an NBC News Decision Desk poll shows a growing number of Americans are dissatisfied with President Trump's handling of key issues in the U.S., including the economy. With inflation recently reaching the highest point of his second term, the president over the weekend appearing to falsely claim that inflation is no longer an issue.
Inflation is totally neutralized. We may get it a little bit lower.
Nearly 2/3 of those surveyed say they think the country is headed on the wrong track. And with less than a year before the midterm elections, a slight majority now say they trust Democrats over Republicans when it comes to handling the price of everyday items. President Trump blaming Democrats.
But the affordability is on the Democrats because they have made it unaffordable to be in this country, but we're bringing those prices down.
Voters we talked to in Pennsylvania frustrated.
He ain't doing it. Everything went up. Ain't nothing went down.
Well, stay with us. We're going to talk Buffalo Bills football right after this quick break. Well, a new era in Sabres hockey is about to begin. In a little more than an hour, we're going to hear from new Sabres general manager Jarmo Kekalainen. He is replacing Kevin Adams, who was let go yesterday. Our Channel 2 sports team breaks it all down.
Hey there, I'm Jonathan Acosta, joined here by our Sabres analyst, Paul Hamilton. Really the big news, not just in Buffalo sports today, but really around the entire NHL. The Sabres parting ways with Kevin Adams as their general manager, a move, I think, Paul, that a lot of people had wanted to come for a while, felt maybe should have come a lot earlier, but it finally gets done. The Sabres, almost 20 games under 500 in Adams' tenure, and I think we agree it was a move that sort of needed to be done by Terry Pegula.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Adams can't say he didn't get a fair chance. He got 5.5 years to try to turn this organization around, wasn't able to do it. Plenty of time and too much time, as you mentioned. I probably would have done it after last year when they lost 13 in a row, went 0-10-3. And when nothing was done, there was just inactivity. He didn't do anything to try to shake the team up or help the team or anything like that. And the team just wound up floundering. And those 13 games ruined their whole season. An 82-game season was ruined in 13 games.
And it really felt like coming into this season, especially with who they brought on as the senior advisor, it really felt like, hey, the Sabres need to get off to a good start this season, or Adams is not going to be around much longer. And instead of a good start, they're in a position where they're bottom of the Eastern Conference, even in spite of finishing that road trip with those 3 wins. So Adams is out the door. Who takes over? Again, the guy that they had brought in this spring as a senior advisor, Jarmo Kekalainen. And Paul Kekalainen comes in as a guy that, unlike Adams, assumes the GM role with plenty of experience.
Yeah, he was the Columbus Blue Jackets GM for over 10 years. He is well respected around the National Hockey League. I have talked to people around the NHL about him, not just recently, but since he became a senior advisor with the Sabres. And they think a lot. He's a no-nonsense guy. This is a guy that doesn't want you to tell him what he wants to hear. He wants conflict. He wants to know, hey, you don't think that player's good enough? Tell me why. I want to know why. You know, he doesn't want people just to massage his ego. So, you know, that's the type of GM he is, and that's what he's going to bring to this position.
And very quickly, he's someone who has not been afraid to make splash moves when it comes to his roster, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, when Johnny Gaudreau was a free agent, nobody was talking about the Columbus Blue Jackets, and look who got him, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Artemi Panarin has played with the Columbus Blue Jackets, so he is not afraid to take a swing if he thinks it's going to help a team get better. And he had a Columbus team that did have over 100 points in a season. So he's not afraid to take that swing, where Kevin Adams seemed like he was scared to death at times to take that swing.
His Blue Jackets teams made the playoffs 5 times. He'll look to now help the Sabres get to that place again, somewhere the Sabres haven't been in now over 14 seasons. Kekalainen's first game of his GM tenure, Thursday night when the Sabres host the Philadelphia Flyers. For Paul Hamilton, I'm Jonathan Acosta for Channel 2 Sports.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I wish I could be a fly on the wall of some of those internal meetings because, you know, obviously after the, 14 years of not making the playoffs, a change needed to be made. But I'm not so sure how many of the decisions or the lack of decisions were coming from the owner or the general manager. I mean, that's one of those things that we're probably going to never know. But I think it's a good thing. And the fact that they're going to a person with previous general manager experience.
Yeah, would you say
that's a good thing?
This is the first?
The third in Sabres history. The first being Punch Imlach, the first general manager who was a general manager of Stanley Cup winners in Toronto, and also John Muckler, who kind of oversaw the teams, Stanley Cup winning teams in Edmonton. So they've brought in people with some good track record, but between them, I mean, it's kind of a learn on the job type of approach from the Sabres over the course of most of the last 55 years. So the fact that they've got someone who has built up a team. I mean, Columbus hasn't won a Stanley Cup. They haven't been a consistent playoff contender. But we'll have to see how this shakes out. I think more changes need to be made other than the general manager. So we will have to see.
And the press conference is at
10:30 this morning. We're going to hear from them. Yep.
Okay.
So we will see. All right, now where are we going next? We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back with more Daybreak Plus. Welcome back. 9:18 now on Daybreak Plus, and the Bills are now turning their focus to the Cleveland Browns. Every game is a new game. A lot of eyes will be on this group as Josh Allen moves up in the MVP conversation. Now this game could also see Myles Garrett break the regular season record for sacks. Right now, Allen is tied with Rams quarterback Matt Stafford for the most total touchdowns in the league. Meanwhile, Garrett needs just one more sack to tie a record currently held by Michael Strahan and TJ Watt. Right now, FanDuel has the Bills about a 10-point favorite on the road. The Bills can clinch a playoff spot if the Colts lose to the 49ers.
By the way, with that sack record, you heard about the Brett Favre comparison, or like, will Josh Allen do what Brett Favre did? And that is when Strahan was trying to get that record, he needed one more sack, and then Brett Favre just went down to give it to him, right? Just to like, hey, we want you to have this record, so would Josh Allen do that for Myles Garrett?
You're going to get it, and don't hurt me while you're getting
exactly.
it, right?
Just have it. We want you to have it.
Yeah, well, we've had some great pass rushers in Bills history.
Yeah.
Bruce Smith was the all-time leader for a long time. So,
right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah.
And see if Josh can continue his Superman heroics. All right, well, one high school is creating a policy to guide the ethical use of artificial intelligence in classrooms. Yes, we're jumping from football to the classroom. Here's NBC's Christy Blake with more.
I think the most important part of this framework is that we're trying to bring students into conversations with teachers about how they're using AI, as opposed to just setting this up as a, teachers versus students, or AI is purely good or purely evil.
The goal is still authentic learning and students having their own educational personality. Principal John Serafine said some students like it for the right reasons, others like it for the wrong reasons. Students submit their work through Turnitin. This is nothing new. I used it in high school, but now it has a feature to track AI. It's not foolproof.
I think the best AI detector, quite honestly, is the teacher who's in the classroom, who's seen previous work from the student, and can identify and recognize that, hey, this work isn't typical work from this student, which is, it's subjective, it's judgmental.
The school was clear. This is a framework, not a set-in-stone policy. So what happens if a student goes too far?
Well, there's a big gray area there, so it's often the case that a student might be overusing a tool, or using a tool that maybe was authorized in one capacity, but here he's using that tool beyond the authorized use. So in those situations, it typically results in a conversation with the teacher and some redirection, and maybe an opportunity for the student to redo the assignment.
That young man at the podium looked just like Jonathan Acosta.
It did.
Hey. And that's all happening just down the thruway in Rochester at McQuaid Jesuit, which is kind of their version of Canisius High School.
Ah, gotcha.
It's
a good one.
Great school and great athletic school. So, but talking up AI in the classroom.
Oh, my it's, I hear about it with my students, my kids in school, and these teachers have to really sniff it out. If the kids are using it for essays and papers and things like that.
What's funny is the teachers use AI to detect AI. So
right.
It's kind of a cyclical thing.
Right.
Most of the guys I went to high school with had artificial intelligence.
Oh, they did?
Well, they had not AI, but
their intelligence was fake.
They faked their way through it.
That's right. The AI of the 70s and 80s.
Exactly. I guess that's right. All right, moving right on. Legendary actors of stage and screen. Dick Van Dyke, 100 years old. He's reached the century mark. Yeah, he celebrated his 100th birthday on Saturday, more than 7 decades after he launched his career. Classics like Mary Poppins, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and The Dick Van Dyke Show. Just last year, he became the oldest daytime Emmy winner. And in a recent interview, he says he has no plans of retiring. How about that? Favorite role?
What's that?
Favorite role?
I would say Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was a pretty good one. I mean, that's the one I just remember quite a bit. Because it involved a car, and as a kid, I just was drawn to that.
And I believe Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was a Thomas Flyer, which was built right over on Niagara Street. How about that? How about that?
I mean,
how about that?
The local connection. The unknown story.
I'll probably get an email or a text saying, no, it wasn't, but I believe it was a Thomas Flyer, but I'll look into that. All right, well, the need for speed on a sheet of ice is front and center when you're talking about the sliding sports at the Winter Games. To On Your Side's Lauren Hall takes a look at the differences between bobsled, luge, and skeleton.
Think of bobsled as a combination of Formula One and NASCAR racing on ice, where torpedo-shaped sleds reach speeds up to 90 miles an hour. An entire team is involved in the design, fabrication, and maintenance of a sled. Competitions for both women and men include sleds with 2 athletes. Men also compete in a 4-person sled, while women also race in a monobob, where 1 athlete does all the work. In skeleton, athletes compete head first on a flat sled. Speeds typically range between 80 and 87 miles an hour. You will see both women and men's individual, and for the first time ever, a mixed team competition. And in luge, both men and women slide down a track lying on their backs, relying on reflexes and body balance to steer the sled. Luge is the fastest sport in the Winter Games, with speeds reaching 90 miles an hour. The blades under the sled are also sharper than bobsled and skeleton and more difficult to control. Both men and women will compete in singles and doubles, along with a team relay. All 3 events use the same track, which can be up to a little over a mile long.
That is wild. That is the fastest sport. And, you know, bobsled, I've done the bobsled ride at Lake Placid. Mm-hmm. And that is just crazy fast. And they were going like a tenth of the speed that they normally go. But skeleton. You're going 90 miles an hour with your chin 3 inches off the ice.
And you're not moving. You're doing little wiggles, I think, to adjust, or into curves and out of curves.
Right.
But that's crazy.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Well, we will have, this is just a super deep tease. We'll have more from Lake Placid and some,
yes.
Going to be going up and shooting some things about how an Olympic town comes to life when the Olympic Games are
on, even if it's somewhere else.
And it's still a legitimate training facility. Most of the video that you saw on that story from Lauren was at Lake Placid.
Really?
So.
Yeah, because I mean, how many, like if there's a bobsled track during the Salt Lake City Games, is it still there? Like my point is, how many actual bobsled tracks are there across the country?
Right. They call them the Olympic legacy sites here. Mm-hmm. They've got the high jump. They've got the the Olympic Center where both the 32 and the 80 rink are. So there are very few Olympic facilities that are still in use and just there. You know, a lot of them have turned into ghost towns because it's too expensive. But just a few years ago, New York State dumped $100 million into resurrecting and maintaining and refurbishing all of those Olympic sites. And they're used year-round for training. The high jump is the only high jump facility that is approved for and rated for training year-round.
Wow.
They can high jump in the summer at Lake Placid.
Yeah, I've been to one other Lake Tahoe or Squaw Valley. It's called Palisade now, but that was an Olympic location, I think, 1960. But up until like the early 80s, they had those facilities still there, including the high jump. But that's all gone now.
And the connection between Squaw Valley and Lake Placid?
Oh my God, let's go.
The 2 years that the U.S. team won the gold medal in hockey.
No kidding.
Yeah. Herb Brooks was the last cut from the 1960 team.
No, I didn't know that.
There you go.
Oh, my.
The more you know.
The more you know.
All right. Well, where are we going now, Mr. Milton? We've talked a lot here. All right. We're going to talk Christmas now. It's just 9 days away. And if you know where to look to find holiday cheer, you will find thousands of lights that not only shine brightly, but also give back to those in need. To On Your Side's Courtney Courtwright shows us how a popular attraction in Lancaster continues to capture the true meaning of the holiday.
There's something truly special happening at the Stony Brook Quail Run development in Lancaster.
Every year we get bigger and bigger, and it is just amazing to see.
More than 300 houses, all lit up for the holidays. But these lights aren't just for show.
It started with people who wanted to give back, and they thought, what better way than Christmas lights?
The Stony Brook legendary lights shine with purpose.
It is a need that not a lot of people know about. There are children in our town and neighboring towns that actually don't have beds, and they sleep on the floor every night.
For a child not to have a bed and not to get a good night's sleep, it really puts them at a disadvantage for each day that they wake up.
It's Sleep in Heavenly Peace's mission to ensure no child sleeps on the floor.
Each bed that we build is a twin-size wooden bed. It comes complete with mattress, sheets, pillow, ready to go to sleep.
The drive to support their cause runs through this neighborhood.
This is a neighborhood of loving, caring people who want to make this season special for everybody.
The lights may only shine until New Year's Day, but the community impact glows brightly even longer.
To see that a community would come together and make that happen for our area children, it really embodies the spirit of the season.
On your side, Courtney Courtwright, Channel 2 News.
All right, another place I told you you've got to go visit.
What's that?
The place in Lancaster.
Ah, cool.
Awesome. All right, have a great day, everyone.